PBS. Explore new ideas and new worlds here on Arizona PBS, a community service of Arizona State University.
I love PBS. It's that gift to our culture. It is the very best reflection of ourselves. Ken Burns National Parks, unbelievable. Frontline, most extraordinary because they have no barriers. They're just right there. Just find a PBS channel and it'll just take you to all those wonderful places. I can't imagine a world without PBS. I don't want to.
Coming up next on Arizona PBS, Life and World.
Michael Crow here, President of Arizona State University. I just want to say thank you to all of our PBS viewers. You all are taking the time to keep yourself up to date. You're taking the time to keep yourself active in learning. You're using the network and the university as a learning platform to advance your family. I think that's the way that everything's going to be moving in the future, and so we're really excited, and I just want to say thank you for watching Arizona PBS.
Coming soon to Arizona PBS.
This July 4th, join me, John Stamos, as I'm back to host America's biggest birthday party, a Capitol 4th.
With the Beach Boys, Jimmy Buffett and the Broadway cast of Escape to Margaritaville, Lauren Elena, Pentatonics, Renee Fleming, The Temptations, a Capitol 4th.
Coming in July to Arizona PBS. Support for Arizona PBS comes from viewers like you and from
Friendship Village Tempe, a retirement community for over 30 years, offers independent living with residency options, lifelong learning classes, as well as continuing care. Information at friendshipvillageaz.com.
Deanne Griebel, now with Moores & Cabot Investments, serving investors since 1890, proudly supports quality programming on 8 Arizona PBS, 480-725-9602.
From the Cronkite Studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
We must put an end to this reign of terror, folks.
Outrage over the Trump administration's policy separating kids from their families at the border. As the president blames the Democrats, we've got team coverage on this latest immigration battle.
The monsoon can make a mess of your commute. As we head into the 2018 season, why the trash you toss out the window can lead to flooded roads.
Measles, mumps, and rubella. Arizonans are more vulnerable to these childhood diseases as some parents refuse to get their kids vaccinated.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Carino Haro.
And I'm Sam Hoyle. Thank you for joining us.
The Democrats forced that law upon our nation. I hate it. I hate to see separation of parents and children. The Democrats can come to us as they actually are. In all fairness, we are talking to them, and they can change the whole border security.
President Donald Trump placing the blame on Democrats for the separation of families at the border. It was his administration that adopted the controversial policy last month, and it's made waves across the country. Tonight, we have team coverage on this latest immigration debate. We start with Pat Pabletti in our Washington bureau, where Democratic representatives fired back at the White House.
When Democrats gathered outside of the Capitol this morning, it was supposed to be a celebration of the 6-year anniversary of DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. Following President Trump's comments this morning, the celebration turned to irritation as Democrats fired back at the notion that they were responsible for the policies of family separation. Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi took President Trump to task over the dire situation facing migrant children at the border.
It's all political. The president is throwing red meat to his base when he does that. He's using children, whether they're dreamers or whether they're little children at the border now, for a political purpose. It's shameful.
As part of the zero-tolerance policy that the Trump administration adopted last month, parents and children who show up together at the border are separated, with parents held for prosecution and children kept in custody until they can be sent home. The White House has repeatedly tried to distance itself from the policy by blaming Democrats, but Michelle Lujan Grisham, chairwoman of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, pointed the finger squarely back at President Trump.
It's indefensible. So if that's the only political thing he can do, it's just simply not true. He is wrong. He doesn't check facts. He's not interested in having a discussion about this policy because he is not an immigration proponent.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions, meanwhile, laid the blame at the feet of Congress.
Well, take Congress, it seems now, based on the status of our law, to give us the aid to really make this system work. Congress could really help us, could really fix this problem tomorrow, virtually. And I hope that they will.
Pelosi did not accept that line of reasoning, however, saying her Republican colleagues were responsible for the crisis at the border.
They control the White House, the House, and the Senate. They could accomplish anything they set out to do if they cared, but they don't care.
Democrats vowed to fight for the future of Dreamers and against the policies of family separation. Representative Judy Chu, chair of the Asian Pacific American Caucus, told me that we will not allow these individuals to be used as bargaining chips to advance Donald Trump's hateful anti-immigrant agenda. In Washington, Pat Pobletti, Cronkite News.
Countless rallies over the issue have been held across the country this week. Local clergy and community leaders gathered today in Phoenix. Reporter Emily Richardson spoke with them about the current immigration system.
Today, Promise Arizona declared a zero tolerance on the separation of children from their parents and what they call the inhumane treatment of immigrants.
I know what it's like to be left behind by a parent, so I can't even imagine what it's like to be left with no parents.
Melanie Delgado's dad, Ishmael Delgado, was deported last year, just 10 days before his wedding to Melanie's mom. He'd been in the U.S. for nearly 3 decades. He was pulled over while he was out on a landscaping job and didn't get to see his family before being sent to Mexico.
He had just been fighting to stay here for so long, so it's pretty devastating.
Reverend Ken Heinzelman is the pastor at the church where Melanie's dad sought sanctuary before his traffic stop. Heinzelman feels actions like this prove the country's immigration policy is flawed.
To draw a line and say that that line should be honored, and it doesn't matter what's happening in your country, it doesn't matter what's happening in your lives, it doesn't matter what kind of hope you have for your children, that doesn't matter, is wrong-headed, and then we wonder why our immigration policy doesn't work.
Heinzelman and members of Promise Arizona agree that the recent news of children being taken from their parents and left in tents is not only an attack on U.S. values, but on families.
Children this morning are waking up in cages behind bars. That is inconceivable for a nation who professes to be the moral arbiter in global affairs.
This Sunday, Promise Arizona and other groups are holding a Father's Day rally for migrants in Phoenix to condemn the actions of the Justice Department. In the Broadcast Center, Emily Richardson, Cronkite News.
It's the first day of the 2018 monsoon season, and we're tracking a chance of showers and thunderstorms.
The rain could come overnight and into the morning. Roger Ratley has a first look at your weather.
That's right, there is a chance for some rain later on tonight, but right now it's 93 in Phoenix, mostly cloudy. I was outside and I did feel some raindrops on me, so hopefully more rain is on the way. The humidity is at 34% and the winds are out of the west at 17 miles per hour, but it is pretty breezy. We've had gusts up to 24 miles per hour. Now our best chance for rain on this first official day of the monsoon is going to come later tonight and into Saturday morning. Right now we're projecting about a 50% chance, so keep your fingers crossed. And as we look at your weekend forecast, we see that, yes, Saturday there is still that chance. We're going to have a high of 86, but by Sunday afternoon, all those clouds are going to be clear, and it's going to be 98 degrees on Father's Day. Stay tuned, I'll have a full forecast later in the show.
Hopefully we don't see too much rain, because after being closed for nearly a year, the Burton Barr Library is set to reopen tomorrow. The library shut its doors during the last monsoon after a flood destroyed the building.
The library has undergone a $10 million renovation. Visitors can expect to see a larger children's play area and more space. Arizona has a stupid motorist law. Under the law, you can be fined $2,000 for driving through a street or highway barricaded for flooding.
Now, Maricopa County Sheriff's Office says, don't worry about it. They say that they will not be enforcing the stupid motorist law this monsoon season because they want to ensure that you'll call for help if you need it. Today is the official start of the monsoon season, and there's actually rain in the forecast.
Jordan Daphnis met with officials to find out what they're doing to prepare and how you can help.
Just 6 inches of water can reach most passenger cars, causing stalling and loss of control. Double this amount, and most vehicles can float. And if that water's moving fast, you're in trouble. You've heard the message before,
Don't cross the barricades if you see swift water.
but we'll repeat it again.
Whether there's a barricade there or not, if you see a road that's been flooded out, don't go across.
Because it happens every year, and law enforcement wants you to be safe and stay away from flooded roads.
What people don't realize is that though we live in a desert and it's real dry, all it takes is a couple inches of rain to create some flooded washes. And when that happens, it's a real dangerous event.
Annually, we do swift water rescue training with the fire department to refresh our practices with swift water rescue. So in the event that somebody gets stranded either like in a car or in a mobile home or something around a wash or swift water, we'll have the ability to fly in and extract them from wherever they're at.
Arizona Department of Transportation advises you to
Turn around, don't drown.
so that you don't find yourself needing a swift water rescue. ADOT also wants people to stop littering on valley freeways.
There can be a problem with litter that gathers along freeways, and it has to make its way somewhere. Sometimes it's into the drainage system.
Now it's litter like this that ends up on valley freeways like the one behind me and causes buildup and blockage so water can't be removed.
This becomes a monsoon mess.
The trash ends up at the bottom of one of Arizona's 59 pump station storage wells. The pump stations are used to remove large amounts of water from valley freeways. When working correctly, they can lift more than 12,000 gallons of water per minute. But if trash is clogging the well, the Arizona Department of Transportation has to haul it out before a storm, or streets are left soaked and dangerous.
Really think about what you're doing before you throw that cup out the window, before you load up the back of that pickup truck with debris that then winds up flying out along the freeway.
Rain is not the only safety concern for drivers during monsoon season. Dust storms are also high risk, and ADOT wants drivers to pull aside and stay alive.
The biggest thing during monsoon season and dust storms is don't drive into them. Visibility can get down to 0. You can't see where you're going, and everyone else on the roadway is driving blind too.
Also be on the lookout for downed power lines. If you see one, stay away, call 911. In the downtown Phoenix, Jordan Daphnis, Cronkite News.
In a time of heated partisan rhetoric, it's hard to imagine lawmakers ever getting along.
Last night that changed, if only for a few hours. Coming up on Cronkite News, Democrats and Republicans set aside their differences for a friendly game of baseball.
And we take a look at why Phoenix is considered a hotspot for diseases like measles next.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles.
In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem. Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
by the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
President Trump's former campaign chairman is in jail tonight. A federal judge put Paul Manafort behind bars this morning after he was accused of witness tampering. He has been on house arrest for over 7 months since he was indicted for foreign lobbying charges. Manafort is the first Trump campaign official to be jailed as part of special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation. Manafort will remain in jail while he awaits 2 trials in the next few months.
The United States has officially launched a trade war. That's the message tonight coming from China's Commerce Ministry. This morning, the president said the U.S. will impose 25% tariffs on China. The Chinese government says it will respond with its own tariffs on American goods. In essence, this means the world's 2 biggest economies are now in a trade battle. The new tariffs on China begin in 3 weeks.
While the gloves were off in Washington over those issues, the gloves were on last night, literally, as Democrats and Republicans squared off against each other in a different arena. But it was all in good fun, as Danny Coble reports from our Washington bureau.
It's not every day that you see a conservative Republican and a liberal Democrat playing together, but yesterday was not just another day in Washington. It was the day of the annual Congressional baseball game between Democratic and Republican members of Congress.
Well, it's always a good time to meet, your other colleagues in a non-political way. You never know what good results can come from that.
All while raising money for local charities.
Well, like I said, this is as good as it gets in Congress. It's always been good. Yeah, we play against each other, but it's very much a bipartisan event. Raise a lot of money, and it's the best feeling you get. It really is.
Good feelings were heightened by the return of Louisiana Congressman Steve Scalise. He was wounded last year when a gunman opened fire on a ball field where Republicans were practicing before the 2017 game. Scalise was cheered by both sides of the stadium when he took to the field and then got the first out of the game before being helped to the dugout to cheer on his colleagues.
Very happy that Steve Scalise is back. He's, it was awful what happened to him. We're happy to see him, and hopefully he plays well, but not so well that he wins.
While the game was a comeback for Scalise, it was a farewell for Flake, who was playing in his 18th game last night. He is not seeking re-election this year, making this game his last as a member of Congress.
I'm going to miss him. This is one of the things I'll miss a lot. 18 years, but I've had a good run. We had a lot of wins, a lot of losses, and hopefully end on a win.
Flake played most of the game in center field, where he appeared to have a good time, but he didn't get the win he wanted to end his congressional baseball career, as Democrats soundly beat the Republicans by a score of 21-5. From Nationals Park in Washington, Danny Coble, Cronkite News.
Last night's win by the Democrats give them a 40-38 advantage over the Republicans in the series, with one game ending in a tie.
The movement opposing childhood vaccines has been growing across the country.
Here in Arizona, we're one of only 18 states that allows non-medical exemptions to vaccines before kindergarten. Coming up on Cronkite News, how these exemptions could impact your kids' health.
A chance of rain in the forecast? I'll have all the details coming up after the break.
This is my last broadcast as the anchor man of the CBS Evening News, and that's the way it is.
Carrying on the baton of those who came before us, our superb team of journalists, writers, reporters, editors, producers work each and every week to tell the stories critical to you. For Arizona news that matters, tune into Cronkite News weeknights at 5 on Arizona PBS.
I'm Matt Berry, ESPN Sports Center anchor and graduate of ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. With its bachelor's and master's degrees in sports journalism, the Cronkite School is preparing the next generation of sports journalists to tell stories that matter, stories that excite, inspire, and inform. Cronkite immerses students in covering sports at all levels in one of the country's top sports markets. It's this hands-on experience under the guidance of award-winning sports media veterans that shape the top journalists of tomorrow.
Millions of people die every year from drinking dirty water.
I would never have felt I had the ability to do something without ASU pushing me. We built filtration systems out of local materials with the people. To see those kids drink clean water for the first time, it's the most rewarding feeling that you can ever have. I went to ASU because I wanted to change the world. The thing I never would have expected is how the world would have changed me.
A new study shows that Maricopa County is among the highest ranking counties for parents opting out of vaccines for their children. Reporter Nicole Hernandez spoke with doctors about the impact of this information.
In Maricopa County, nearly 3,000 enrolling kindergartners had non-medical exemptions for vaccinations. This study was published in the Public Library of Science. 18 states allow parents to opt out of vaccinating their children because of personal beliefs.
I really think that part of that is because we're living in an age of almost information overload. We have so much news and so much information coming at us from so many different angles, it can be hard to know what to believe.
Physician Laura Glenn says the vaccination debate is too polarized and that information is key for parents.
To make an informed decision, they need to be looking vaccine by vaccine, to illness, and looking at, well, what are the risks of contracting the illness? What are the possible consequences of the child getting the illness? What are the risks of the vaccine?
But these decisions are new for parents. In years past, vaccinations were a no-brainer.
We live in an era where vaccines have been around long enough that a lot of these diseases are things that parents haven't seen in their lifetime.
Having such low vaccination rates can affect more than just the unvaccinated children and people around them.
You also have the effect on the healthcare system, and so that utilizes more healthcare resources and increases the amount of money that's spent in the community.
While the rate in Arizona sounds high, actually our state is tied for 4th with Utah. Oregon, Idaho, and Wisconsin had higher non-vaccination rates from 2016 to 2017. And one thing both doctors touched on was the idea of herd immunity. If enough of a population is vaccinated, it can protect those who aren't from getting the diseases. But that system relies on high vaccination rates. In the broadcast center, Nicole Hernandez, Cronkite News.
Valley fever cases are on the rise here in Arizona, and monsoon season could make that even worse. The Department of Health Services says there have been 3,300 confirmed cases through May of this year, which is up 1,000 more cases from last year. Valley fever symptoms include having a fever, feeling tired, and having head or muscle aches. Valley fever is caused by a fungus you can get by inhaling spores that get disrupted from soil and end up in the air. The strong winds we see this during monsoon season can kick up more of those valley fever causing spores. Today the monsoon begins with possible rain and temperatures in the 90s.
Will things dry out before Father's Day? Roger Ratley's here with your weekend forecast.
Well, today we had a high of 95, which is well below our average temperature of 104 that we are normally at this time of year. Thankfully, we didn't come anywhere near that 115 record that we had back in 1974. Around the valley, currently, it's 93 in Phoenix, 91 in Scottsdale, and 90 out in Goodyear. Now, around the state, we see that Tucson's at 87 and Flagstaff's at 76. Today is the official first day of the monsoon, and with that, we've got our best chance for rain. There has been no measurable rain in the valley for over 3 months. So starting tonight and into Saturday morning, we've got a chance for rain around 50%. And when we take a look at our weekend forecast, we see that Saturday it's going to be at 86, Father's Day 98, and the rest of your week 100 on Tuesday and Friday 110. I'm Roger Ratley in the Cronkite Weather Center.
With the monsoon comes Gila monsters. They come out across southern Arizona during the high humidity, especially in washes. Gila monsters are a protected species, and they're just as venomous as a diamondback rattlesnake. Don't try to catch one. Besides the nasty bite, you could face a hefty fine and possible jail time.
Each of our actions will leave a footprint on this earth.
From recycling to how much water we use, responsibility is vital. Coming up on Cronkite News, we check out a summer camp that allows the next generation to explore sustainability and conservation.
I like working for Cronkite News because it gives us the opportunity to find a different angle on the same stories that every other news outlet is covering across Arizona. As students, we have the opportunity to cover issues in all
across the state of Arizona.
Gives me a good chance to sharpen my skills, improve my skills, learn the techniques in a newsroom and in the programs and teamwork and technology, getting me prepared for the real world. And at the same time, I think we do a great job, make some great stories, do great journalism for the city of Phoenix and the state of Arizona.
I'm Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. Join us each weekday at 5:30 and 10 as we bring you the top newsmakers who impact the state. We cover the stories in depth that shape and affect our local communities, and we take the time to ensure that all voices are equally heard. For more than 30 years, Arizona Horizon has been your voice and your source for what matters most, right here on Arizona PBS.
If you're looking for one show that tells you what happened that day in the world of business, it's NBR.
We saw a classic shipwreck.
Nordstrom's opening stores.
Triple-digit gains.
Crude climbs.
We're there to help our audience find new investment ideas.
The market still has room to go up.
Nightly Business Report is the longest-running business television program in history.
Weeknights at 10:30 on Arizona PBS.
If your kids don't have plans for the summer yet, there is a camp on Catalina Island that teaches valuable life lessons. Cronkite News reporter Nia Rowan checked it out.
Here on Catalina Island, there are many things to do, but this summer camp is fun while also giving back to the environment. Swimming, kayaking, and learning more about ocean life is a great way to spend the summer at Catalina Island camps, also known as CIC. Jake Dorito is the assistant boys camp director. He also attended as a camper for 4 years. Dorito travels from Arizona to the island every summer.
It's the community. It's the positivity around you. It's all the support.
In addition to traditional camp activities like rock climbing and swimming, campers also learn about living on an island and ocean life.
So we have naturalists back here who are passionate about the work they're doing and are super excited about it, and that's all it takes to get kids excited about something.
Amber Shetler is the Outback Director and oversees the compost garden at the camp. CIC composts on average 20,000 to 26,000 pounds of food each year.
Most of our food waste is, watermelon rinds, orange peels, napkins, things like that. Well, I just think it's a super important thing to be teaching our kids about, to have them be able to see where their waste goes and to think about what they're consuming.
Each cabin goes to the garden to compost and is able to see and taste the new food that is growing.
They get to see all the food that we have and that we compost each day, because all the kids are a part of that. And then it's taking that next step and showing them how we compost that, and then showing them the next step of when it's soil, and then when we actually get plants from that.
And of course, there's plenty of sea life to observe around the island.
Every chance I get, I love to go in the water and go snorkeling, getting to see, octopi and like all these different kinds of fish and Garibaldi. It's really cool. It's something special. Every time I go in there, I see something different.
On Catalina Island, this is Nia Rowan for Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, it's the Journalists Roundtable, the latest on calls for a state lawmaker to resign after disparaging comments on immigration. And Martha McSally's campaign removes a video promoting a solution for DACA recipients.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next NewsHour, the final report in our week-long series, The End of AIDS. We explore the challenge of delivering HIV care in the rural South. That's Friday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
She lives only for art and love, Tosca, a tempestuous, jealous diva. But how far will she go to save her lover from the lascivious Scarpia who wants her only for himself? Don't miss Sonia Yoncheva, Vittorio Grigolo, and Jelko Lucic in David McVicker's triumphant production of Puccini's opera thriller, Tosca, on Great Performances at the Met.
Tonight at 8 on Arizona PBS. Explore new ideas and new worlds here on Arizona PBS, a community service of Arizona State University.
Arizona PBS deeply appreciates every gift we receive, and we are proud to honor our Executive Society. These supporters believe in the mission of public television and are making a real impact in our community. If you would like to join the Executive Society, please call the number below or log on to azpbs.org to join. Thank you.